Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Enlightening Your Way. I am your host, Nancy Lombardo. We are airing live here on the Lilydale Assembly official Facebook page and YouTube channel. I'm a year-round resident here in Lilydale and the president of the Church of Living Spirit, which is an independent spiritualist church here on the grounds of Lilydale. I'm a military veteran, retired police detective, fitness and yoga instructor, and wellness is my passion. This show is a combination of my many life experiences that will feature various topics and guests to help enrich one's mind, body, and soul on your pathway to healthy living. My Facebook page, Wellness with Nancy Lombardo, where my motto is protecting and serving your well-being. And I'm so happy to introduce our guest for tonight, Logan Sutt. Hi, Logan. Logan is an Army veteran who served as an operating room technician. Logan is also a certified tissue bank specialist. He is a spiritualist minister, healer, Reiki practitioner, and Logan now ministers in the VA Center and is a patient advocate at the Syracuse VA Center. Welcome, Logan.
Thank you for having me, Nancy.
Of course, of course. Would you like to tell us just a little bit more about yourself that I might not have said?
I'm the patient advocate for the LGBTQ community at the Syracuse VA.
That narrows it in for sure.
Mhm.
What's going to be different tonight for those of you that are joining us about our talk is I'm not going to be so much interviewing Logan as I normally do, is we're going to have a candid conversation about the holidays, about grief, depression, sadness, and suicide, something that both of us have experienced personally through the military. We've witnessed it. I've certainly seen it on the police department. And I think it's an important topic to talk about with Christmas coming up or however way you choose to celebrate the holidays. It is a holiday time. And with holidays, there comes all sorts of emotions, all sorts of things that bubble up in people. It's not always a happy time for everybody. And I would just like to touch base a little bit on my story to tell you why I decided to air this time at this time of year. My personal story is I had a suicide in my family when I was just 9 years old. It was December 30th. My entire family was home. An argument took place. A family member killed themselves. And it was when I was 9. And from that moment on, I got to tell you, my life, my family's life was forever changed to the point that here I am now, many, many years later, still talking about it. Why? So I'm almost getting emotional thinking about it because I cannot get through a holiday, a Christmas, a New Year's without thinking about this. I just can't. I mean, it's always going to be there. And I've learned to deal with it better, for sure, the older I've gotten, and I've come to accept it. But the fact that it's there, it's innately there, it'll always be there. And it changed my life, and it gave me a very deep insight of life and death at a very young age that rolled over into the military, that rolled into my police work, that continues today. And that's really why I wanted to have this conversation tonight with you all, for all of you that are struggling with any type of grief this holiday season. Me and Logan want to talk to you about it. And Logan has had his share for sure. We were just talking before we went live, and I had forgotten about your real life partner,
Tracy.
Tracy. Yeah, would like to talk about it?
Yeah. She was a very accomplished athlete. She was Division I softball player, math, computer science major. Just was really just a fundamentally just loving, kind, compassionate person. And her father passed away, and she, in her heart, he never said, "I love you." And from that point on, Nancy, there was nothing anyone could do to console her because of that missing piece. And we had his funeral. And then it wasn't long after that matter of fact, I was traveling for tissue banking. So I was going back and forth from we were in Connecticut up to Syracuse, and that was her first attempt.
Oh, she had
And
attempted
she
before.
took pills, and Nancy, I had an unsecured 9mm in the house.
Mm,
Like, I mean, I'm like, where did I put it? You hide things in the house, or you want to put it to make sure that you have it available to you. Um, and that was my biggest thing because I wasn't home. And she had taken pills and drank, and she was not successful with that first attempt. My sister intervened, and we tried to get her help, and she would go on a few years later to be successful. um
and especially us living here, being involved in spiritualism, I know there's so many mediums that talk so often about the many, many people that come wanting to connect with those people that have taken their life that way, because there's forever that haunting why. And you could say that, she didn't hear the I love you, but, unless you're in their exact shoes at their exact moment, I don't think any of us ever know exactly what crosses someone's mind at that exact time. And that might just be a question that remains unanswered until we meet them on the other side, for sure. And I think suicide is such a unique type of loss for everyone, and that's why anyone that's been near it, around it, a survivor of it, there's a uniqueness about it, and there's a hardness about it to get past it, for sure, a real hardness about it.
Can I just I mean, one of the things that as we were talking about this before we started, my first she was my partner, but our first family, I was raised Southern Baptist, as most of the people in our audience knows, was my aunt, my great aunt, 78 years old, who committed suicide. And being in that type of religion, and my grandmother raised my brother and I, and she just could not get past that. you know that what did we miss? She wore the same clothes all the time, and I would be like, grandma, you need to get her some mental health. But mental health wasn't really
Mm-mm.
is not really seen upon. It's more frowned up. It's more frowned upon, certainly since COVID. I mean, there's a lot of things that have transpired since she committed suicide, but it was my grandmother struggled and struggled with that, Nancy.
That just made me think of something, Logan, when you were saying that. And I think that's why at 9 years old, every year after 9 years old, my grandmother, my parents, there was such a sadness in the house. There was just such a sadness. I don't think any of my family, we were raised Catholic, and it was like a no-no to do that when you're Catholic. And so it wasn't ever talked about. We just didn't talk about it. So if you ignore it, it didn't happen. It didn't happen that way. But come the holidays, come Christmas, there was just such a sadness that you couldn't change. And you're right. Yeah, and I don't think they ever got help either, because back then it wasn't as accepted, if that's the word I want to use, as it is today. There wasn't so much help out there, because there's a ton of help out there, and yet it continues to happen terribly and a lot, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, look at us. We're military veterans, and one of the
Tell me about
things,
some of the numbers you were telling. Tell them about some of the numbers you were telling me. I was just flabbergasted.
well, 17 to 22 veterans, and you can go across the board, but if anyone wants to go, it's the Columbia Lighthouse Project, who the American Legion, you're a Legion member, I'm a Legion member, and they have a training that you can go through, because most 60% of all veterans do not get health care at the VA. So what do you do with them if they're having a mental health crisis? So usually they're going to come to a fellow veteran. I mean, you're a police officer I mean, I don't know how, you roll as a police officer, but as far as like being at the VA, to sit down and to talk to a fellow veteran, you can really get that. I'm sitting there, just like in some of the ministering stuff you do. You sit there, you listen, because sometimes, Nancy, that's all I can do. I have no answers. I have nothing that I can say to them that's going to make them feel better. And, even in the training, the one thing you don't say is, I know exactly how you feel.
Hmm.
No, I don't, Nancy. I have no idea how that little 9-year-old girl feels,
Right.
when that happened to you and your family. I mean, I've gone on to watch you and your PTSD classes, your suicide classes, and talk about that. But I learn every time a new emotion when you talk about that during your classes.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. We got several people commenting. Hi, Corinne. So nice to see you on here. Thank you all for joining us for sure. Yeah, it's an important topic. I know one thing, and as you know, I'm a listener on a police crisis line, and they tell us it's like you said, you can't. You need to get in the trenches with them. You need to get in the. You're not going to say, "Oh, feel better if you just say this," or "It'll be okay if you just." No, 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 no. That's not what somebody that's really feeling down wants to hear. They want you to be in the trenches with them, feel what they're feeling, and be there with them. Just sit there with them if that's what you need to do. And it's all about listening and taking that all in for sure. I was looking up the statistics for law enforcement. For Blue Help, they're a great supporter of law enforcement. 2023, there were 167 suicides. And this year to date, there's 135, with 3 officers that had passed by suicide this week alone, which is alarming to me. We were talking about this, it's a crisis for sure. 50% law enforcement and military, 50% higher than our civilian counterparts, the rate right now. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be out here.
And you know what, Nancy? I'd like to add something to that because I found this very interesting. Working in the tissue banking business, you run across a lot of accidents, but also suicides. Being in the tissue business, it's like, being in that. I'm a supporter of organ, eye, and tissue. But being in the tissue business, it's non-heart beating. So at that point, a lot of families want to make something good come of what happened to them. So, as you're going through, you have to do a medical sexual social history with them and talk with them and just let them be, and vent and say what they want to say, while keeping focused on your job. But one of the things that I found interesting is that women veterans are 250 times more likely to kill themselves or commit suicide than civilian women.
That's incredible.
And I'm like, I was just, I couldn't believe that. So it seems to me in my line of business, my wife, I don't know how many thousand donors she did, but she only had in her whole 1,000 donors, one female that committed suicide. The rest were males.
Wow. That's I know we were talking about this last week. I think you'd made mention about not only the holidays, because there's so many motor vehicle accidents and that kind of stuff that happens around the holidays, where the tissue banks, the supply and demand are higher than normal too also. So it's got to be, like you said, for some families, it's a blessing. And for other families, it's so sad. How did you deal with that?
You know what? I'm still dealing with that. I mean, my nephew was an organ, eye, and tissue donor in July of 2023. And I deal with my brother's, even before that, my brother's suicide ideology on a weekly basis, and it's hard. It should have been me. It shouldn't have been Jonathan. It should have been me. So I want it's very close and personal to me because I feel like, it's always like a crisis brewing. It's always like, what, if I spend more time with you, if I talk to you more, what can I possibly do other than listen to him? So I guess I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that. It's a work in progress, Nancy. How's that? Like
Yeah.
you're a work in progress. I guess my family's a work in progress too.
Yeah, I understand that. You said about the suicide ideology, and I have talked about this at church for sure before, because I never understood that 9-year-old girl when that happened, and I idolized, my family suicide, I idolized him for taking his life, thinking, "Oh, he got out of here and he went to a better place." And I, I made all this crazy stuff up in my head, thinking this is a really good idea. And I've told this story. I was firm in the belief that I was going to kill myself at 17. I had my obituary wrote out. I mean, I was going to kill myself at 17. The only thing, and I got to give the military credit because I don't even know how it happened, but the military, in my opinion, saved my life joining the military, because I joined the military. It got me away from here, out of here, out of whatever I think I needed to get out of. But I also think I joined the military and got on the police department because of the suicide, because of everything I saw and how much it hurt me, how much it hurt my family. And I thought, if I could just help families through this when I start responding to these, because responding to these I did, whew, especially around the holidays. Not only around the holidays, let's talk about New Year's. Some of these people, I'm going to kill myself on New Year's, and that's their New Year's resolution, and I saw that time and time again. So it was a bitter sword, to say the least.
So while you were policing, you had to take care of that crime scene going along.
Well, we were the first responders, so we were always the first one there. We were there, the attempted suicides, and then you're going there, and next thing you know, it's an actual suicide. They were always started off as attempted, or go check welfare on somebody, and then you're always the first one there to see whatever you're going to see, or find whatever you're going to find. And I guess what I've got gratification in, if that's even the right word, I don't like to use that word, was when the families responded, and I'm going to cry. And so I wasn't able to use any emotions when I was on the police department because I was so stoic. But when the families got there, I truly understood what they were going through. I truly understood the shock of it all. And I truly understood the devastation of it. Not only that, but the devastation that's going to follow it like a snowball, for the rest of their life. It's just one act, and this is it.
Well, I have to bring in the other thing of suicide and me. Back in June, I was the poster boy for New York State, and I'm transgendered. So I use pronouns he, him, his, and I consider myself transgendered male. Um, a lot of veterans really struggle with that because you will have, just think about a combat veteran who is a male and then transitions to a female and becomes a second class citizen. Now, I've been a second class citizen. I'm not saying that males and females, so first class, I'm going to use this for this purposes of first class and second class citizen. Like let's say a white male, it's hard for them to go into being a female and understand the privilege that they no longer have. So that's sad, that's lonely, that keeps them isolation. I mean, isolation is a big deal with suicide. So, while I get privilege now that I'm a white male, that's not necessarily true for my counterparts when they're male to female. And that's what I deal a lot with at the VA. Sitting there and just trying to understand that.
Well, who can understand it better than you?
I guess that's why I sit there and I intently listen, and I try to say, I understand all that. I understand what the girling part, the woman part of all that is. You know what, Nancy? Since I was 18 months old, I wasn't doing girl ever, 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 ever. I lost my brother. I lost my father. They didn't talk to me for 5 years. I still have people in the family that call me she and, my other name. And it's just like, at this point, we're not doing transgender 101. We're just like, here I am, and here we go, and let's make the best of it, because you know what? We don't ever know if we're going to have tomorrow.
Not the truth. Can you talk about the numbers of the suicide rates with the LGBTQ plus community? Do you know that number?
I can talk about the transgendered part. I think 20% higher if you're LGBTQ. Now, the VA does and takes care of veterans for LGBTQ plus. So for the purposes of this conversation, we're just going to be, because we just got LGBT and Q, we just got Q and plus on the end of that.
Mhm.
So we've really worked hard. One of the biggest problems that we had at the VA was misgendering. So, and it's hard for me because, we're in the military, Nancy. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I was raised like that. So going into somewhere, you got to be really careful because I'll take a second look and I'm like, you know what? I just screwed that gender right up. That should have been a yes, sir, not a no, sir, or vice versa. So, um, as far as transgendered people go, and I think that's where the biggest part of um, from as early as 7 years old. The oldest being 80 plus, have committed suicide being transgendered because no one understood them.
Wow.
So if I could possibly, I mean,
What was the
there's
age you
number
said?
hmm?
What was the age you said?
7,
Yeah, yeah, yes. I've seen
7
that. I've seen that. Yep.
because they just if you think about it, I had a 50-50 chance of sitting here talking with you tonight. 46%, let's say 46. We can even go lower than that. Different countries have different values on that,
Mhm.
and because of the reporting, I'm in a study for the University of California, San Francisco. So they're starting to look at longitudinal studies on different things that they can help different the LGBTQ community in. And I hope that if someone wants to have a conversation with me about that, or you or us together or something, let's have the conversation. you know um that's as much as I can say. I just can't imagine, one person killing themselves and affects 135 people, which, if I, committed suicide because of my gender, I had a fairly supportive family. And I started, but I mean, I didn't transition till I was 45, but I spent from the age of 2 years old till that age before I transitioned. So, you know what? If anyone can possibly help someone, especially with that number, Nancy, it's sort of like me
Yeah,
with our military number. Let's do something about it. Let's have a conversation. If you
r
don't understand it or you don't agree with it, that's all right. I hold no malice or anything. Let's just talk about it.
right.
Maybe I'll learn something from someone else.
Exactly. Open up the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. The statistics are alarming. I mean, 1,000,000 people a year die by suicide worldwide. 1,000,000 people. That's crazy. And 48,000 die in the US, making it the 10th leading cause of death. Uh, like I said, the suicide rate, the first responders and military, 50% higher. And then there's the suicide survivors, which the number is just as high after that. And you're right, it's all about opening the lines of communication and just talking about it. I think that's the title of my class, Suicide. Let's talk about suicide, because sometimes you just say the word and people are like, hey, they don't even, they just lock up hearing the word sometimes. I'm sure the same thing with transgender. There's like, you're what? Huh? And then change the subject, right?
Well, it's sort of like one of the things that I get all the time is like they think that I am a master of being transgender. All right, I've got two different hormones going on, estrogen and testosterone. I'm old enough now to have gone through menopause. So you're sort of like it's funny. It's funny. I could probably write a book that was so funny, but then would absolutely go to the center of your heart with just emotionally, like the little 9-year-old girl. I mean, when as I like I said, when you talked about her and you talked about that, I'm like, gosh, Nancy, you lost your mother at that age. How do you grow up and be that and do that? I think with being transgendered, gosh, Nancy, I mean, I've been I have a lot of funny stories. Um, and then I have a lot of stories that, when you have body dysphoria and it affects you, And the only thing you want to do, I mean, I remember being 15 years old and saying, I used to pray to God, just kill me. I am not fitting in. Just take me out now. And
Oh,
that's how I felt about it, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um, and then look at our principle, our spiritual principle. You create your own reality. Like I every week I say our principles. I'm like, all right, you create your own reality. All right, all of this is normal. All of this is normal, you know?
And I guess that's what one of the things that really attracted me to spiritualism is the fact that we are welcoming of everybody. I mean, everybody, we're just welcoming. No
Yeah.
matter what your circumstance is, our doors are open and it's all with love. It's all with love, for sure. So I definitely love that about our religion. And I think many people feel that. And I think that's why Lily Dell attracts so many different kinds of people from all shapes and forms of life because they recognize that for sure. So,
I
yeah.
mean, Nancy, you know what? The God of my own understanding was the most pivotal thing I've ever learned in my entire life. And I spent from the age of 2 weeks old until I went into the military at 17, when the church doors were open in a Baptist church.
Right.
But I mean, like now I can say, it's the God of your own understanding. That's so freeing. That's so empowering. Um,
Right. Yeah. That's very
I
good.
mean, I was very, very, very afraid to come out at all at Lilydale to talk about me being transgendered. Matter of fact, I didn't realize how bad it was until I was the poster boy, and once I was the poster boy and it was going out live for New York State, I'm like, you know what? I committed to this. Now I have to drive it.
Yeah.
So, us talking about this now, I would have never said yes. I just wouldn't have because it was paralyzing. I didn't understand the weight of that.
I hope
So,
it's a bit of a freeing for you.
oh yeah, for sure.
So that's a good thing. I want to also touch base. I mean, I know I have a story, you have a story, but there are so many other stories out there with so many people that are watching tonight or hearing us as far as grief in the holidays. I mean, there's so many different things going on. There's homicides, there's accidents, um, there's drug abuse, there's just so much other stuff going on that people are dealing with. And I want to respect all of it. I want to respect all of people's lows that they're going with the holidays and recognize it and just let them know that they're not alone. They don't need to be alone through this. Me and you are both ministers of our churches. And, there's several organizations out there. There's people willing to talk to you if you need someone to talk to, that's for sure. Um, because a lot of it is just about being a good listener. We said that, didn't we?
You did.
Being a good listener, don't be afraid to ask someone direct questions and don't try to fix their problems because we're not the problem fixers. It's a bad habit that people get into. They try to fix other people's problems. What's your problem? Well, let me tell you how to fix that. No, that's really not the right way to go about it. And the biggest thing is avoid minimizing people's feelings too, because you can make people feel pretty small. Well, what? You're that depressed over that? That's not that. There's certain little things.
Language.
If you catch yourself saying it, you can be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So really think before you talk. Really think before you talk. And I know there's some people that have a really hard time listening because just being able to listen is so important. And not just listening, but actually hearing what the person's saying, actually hearing it, retaining it, soaking it in. And then what are you going to say? Take that pause. A pause could be so important. What do you think? What's your advice?
I was trained by Nancy Lombardo. Let's reiterate. Did I think I understood this? And then I mean, most people don't know you being an advanced hostage negotiator. You had a story in one of your classes about that. But all right, let me see if I understand this, how I'm hearing this. And then, just sitting there and hearing their response. Because you know what? Sometimes, I really, really, really try to do that, Nancy. I'm like, all right, just shut up. Just, you know, I always blame it on my friend Joyce. If she's watching tonight, she would know
I love
exactly what
those.
to say, right? But just sit back and say, wow, you know what? That's interesting. It's just, yeah, just listening. I can't emphasize that enough.
Sometimes it's just okay to be in the sadness. It's okay to be there. It's okay to not celebrate. It's okay to not feel like you need to get out and celebrate. Um, I think I wrote this down to be gentle with yourself because so many people aren't gentle with themselves. It's go, 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 da, 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 da. And I started doing something that you've been doing, and I'm really, really liking it. My breath work.
There you go.
I know.
Really?
I
Oh, I'm
really
proud of
I've been
you.
sticking with it. I'm watching my little YouTube videos, but man, it's really made a difference. Would you like to talk a little bit about how that's helped you? Just breath
Schedule
work,
it in,
or
Nancy.
how do you think it could help people that are in grief or in
Yeah.
depression?
Yeah, I'm just joking, but I seriously, I schedule it in. You need to schedule that in. So I do a single breath work. I have a breath work coach, and then I have a group on Thursday night at 7. And I mean, we have a really cool group because you'll get I've noticed that you get different experiences. Um, it's helped me in the pool. It's helped me. I'm not sure about my sleep apnea if it's helped me or not because I haven't done a PFT lately, but it definitely helps me. Can you feel when you're thoracic breathing instead of,
You're getting technical again. You're getting your
sorry,
surgical
sorry,
thing
Nancy. That's right. Do you
You might.
find when you're like breathing or you're like breathing up top, you're not
Oh,
just
yeah, 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 yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I had to learn how to go deep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's hard to do. It's a learn.
And hold like top holds and
Yeah,
bottom
yeah,
holds,
yeah.
and I always and Nancy, I wouldn't call us overachievers whatsoever, would you?
No, not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
So,
Mhm.
I'm always with the breath work. It's cool because when you have a coach, my coach particularly, we go in, we set an intention, and then we move through it. And it's nice to have someone who knows what they're doing breathe you through it. She calls it breathe. I'm going to breathe you.
But
And
does it not help you with anxiety? Can it not help with anxiety, depression, all of it?
yes, yes, I do. I do that. And I also, you know what? I got to talk about your sound healing
Oh,
because that really. I mean, I got to throw it back to you. Are you? Did I? Did I throw it back, or did I tell you about breath work enough?
no, that was something I discovered that has really helped me out, honestly, um, to deal with some of my own anxiety through police work, through my own PTSD. Do they? I mean, we all have that, and it's helped me calm me down. It's helped me be able to not be so high strung and just me. Can't sit still. Got to go run no matter what the weather is. It's just all that. I guess that goes to my other thing about taking care of yourself.
Oh yeah.
Even just eating, sleeping, exercising, all that, meditating, breathing. And it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay just to say, no, I don't want to go to that party. I don't feel like it. It's okay to feel that way and just say no. Especially this time of year, there's so many different things going on. Everybody, it's stress enough alone. So I can't imagine if there's other stressors put on you. You don't have to take them on. You don't have to take
Yeah.
those.
I mean, you know what, Nancy? You look at some of the healthcare workers, cortisol levels. They did that big nursing study on cortisol levels. And even with our the work we do just energetically, I have got to do self-care. And that's where the breath work really comes into play with me because you know what? I'm forced to do self-care. Now, every night my sister got me a set of Quest 3 goggles and it's a trip app and I go in there in 3D and I do that every night because you get achievements, of course, and you get your sanctuary becomes animated because you're doing that. But the thing is, it sort of just settles you in. And I know the studies say blue light, don't look at blue light, but I pop those goggles on and I roll back, and sometimes I'll fall asleep right with them on because it's so relaxing,
And that's a good
but
thing if you're able to relax that way. I mean,
yeah.
you're able
But
to.
I'm also they also do they have incorporated breath work in there, but I don't know what you found, but I really like to have my coach because she teaches me different types of breathing.
Mhm.
And I've noticed one of the things I did notice, you being an athlete, me being in the pool, I'm able to breathe like every other exercise because my breathworks teacher's name's Dory, and she's like, have you noticed anything better in the pool? You being more, different in the pool. And I said, absolutely, because I'll just start to practice that in my exercise. So
Right.
I don't know. You're the athlete.
Well, I mean, like I said, just that my blood pressure is lower than most people's because of the running and all that. So
Hmm.
I guess, yeah, I'm able to calm myself down more than most, easier than most, maybe. I don't know. It's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to expect mood changes, and it's okay to have highs and lows. Um, those are all natural feelings when anybody's dealing with any kind of depressions or grief. Um, and it's all okay. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to just be sad and cry. Sometimes it's good to let that out. And sometimes people can't cry. I said, I don't even think I would. When I used to be a police officer, I was like a freaking brick. I mean, I never let myself feel anything. And it really wasn't until I got to Lilyville that I started unfolding a little bit. There's still a lot I don't let myself feel because it's just trained behavior. But the more I let go, especially when you're trying to learn mediumship and all that, you're opening up that right side of your brain, and all these feelings are starting to come in, and it's all new to me. And some of them I don't like, that's for sure. But I've had to deal with them, and it hasn't necessarily been a bad thing. I think I just forgot a lot of it. Maybe. I don't know.
You know what, Nancy? I still can't cry by myself.
Really?
I can't. I feel so, well, being raised by my grandmother, it would be emotionally upsetting to her to see us cry. So she'd be like, suck it up, So, even in the privacy of myself. But I feel like that spiritualism and seeing people vulnerable and being able to talk about the things. Well, on Sunday morning, I come to church every Sunday morning and go to my other church, you know, to be able to listen to our speakers talk and be vulnerable just only empowers us. I mean, I talked about human tissue donation on Easter after your talk with your, was that your baby in the box talk that you had?
It was
Uh,
Christmas. The Christmas talk.
yeah, that was so inspiring. I was like right on the phone. I'm like, I have something I want to talk about. And I think that really helps us as a religion spiritualist, be open to other things and philosophies and, different types of practices, which is very, 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 has been really healing in my life.
Yeah, I worked many, many, many holidays of my 28 and a half year career as a police officer, only because I didn't have kids, so I volunteered to work them so my partners that had kids could go home. And I think coming back to New York, I was thinking about this. I think I only came back maybe twice in 28 years for Christmas because I was always working Christmas. And in all honesty, a lot of the times working Christmas, I mean, there were a lot of domestics, there was a lot of alcohol, there was a lot. There's just a lot going on that people just don't even think about around the holidays. That's why I'm, you know, ho 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 and ha ha. I have this whole other view of holidays and how I saw them working the streets. And I said that's why I wanted to have this conversation tonight. I want to reach all those other people and all the other people that are feeling other things besides ho 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 and happy holidays.
Well,
Because
you miss people. I mean, like at the holidays, I'm like, okay, I'm down here visiting my sister, and we're missing one less person this year. I met George last year, and he passed away a couple months ago from cancer. And I'm like, I didn't make it back to see him. It was really enjoyable, and that you just miss people.
And you're right, it's that first holiday of that empty chair. Yeah, you're right. It is a sense of loss and who's not there this year, but I guess as spiritualists, it's good to us to know that life does go on and life continues. But as we say, it never hurts the grieving. It doesn't help the grieving process. You still have to go through that whole process. Um, but it's helpful to know that when you're ready and prepared to be able to hear that other side and open yourself up to it, it does give you great satisfaction and a peace of mind, I would think. Don't you think, Logan?
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about numbers. I would like to include in that is the families of school shootings. That
Oh,
bothers me. That seriously bothers me. As a veteran, that bothers me. I'm always bothered by that. I'm still not over the Sandy Hook thing.
and the
And
recent
that
the
that
one that
just
just
really
had, yeah.
yeah, I'm just really bothered by that, and I wish we could do something about that, and that is one of the things that I pray for on a daily basis,
Yeah,
because a family at any point in this country could be a victim of that, or in the world, and I just would like to include that.
absolutely. The children, I mean, it's such a hard loss for everyone. Uh, I don't know what the solution for that is because it hasn't stopped for sure. But yes, we need to keep all of them in our prayers for sure. All of them. Is there numbers you said you wanted to give out to people if they had if
Well,
they needed someone to reach out to? We do
oh
besides
yeah,
the minister. If there's some professional numbers, or if you just need anybody to talk to, go ahead.
well, like the Columbia Lighthouse the Columbia Lighthouse Project. I
Mhm.
mean, um, they do a really good job. It's an hour and a half, and it's a very simple thing for lay people that aren't, social workers or mental health care professionals. Because what we found as far as veterans go, they don't trust the VA and they don't trust physicians. So the best thing they can do is, or what they found research wise, is that they talk to their fellow veteran. So what they've done, and they've instituted this Columbia Lighthouse Project. They have it in police departments, businesses, schools, and everyone's trained all the way from. And it's interesting that last school shooting that the janitors help people,
Yeah.
and that's what they did. They trained everyone from the kids all the way up to the janitor. All staff, everyone was included in that training. So if I think that that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
If it's not
Yeah.
going to go away, at least it's we have to be at least prepared. Um, and if so, the 988 is a crisis number for veterans. And if you are one of those 60% of veterans that don't use the VA, 988 will help you get in touch with mental health services. Like I said, 17 to 22 veterans daily kill themselves or commit suicide.
Yes. Yeah. 988. It's suicide and crisis line. I think it's for suicides and crises. And
Yep.
suicide prevention lifeline. I have 1-800-273-TALK. That's a really good one out there. Also, do you have any?
Can you the Trevor Project does a really good job with LGBTQ plus.
They're very good. Yeah, Trevor. I love Trevor Project. I said there's so many resources out there. There's many people that are willing to help you. If you're one of those that are in need of help, please don't hesitate. I know our church has a online minister with a number there on our website that's available to talk to you if you need someone to talk to. I'm sure many of the churches do. Many organizations. Just Google. You'll
Yeah, and you know what, Nancy? I mean, now I'm transgendered. I probably fit every classification going across. No, I'm not a gay male. No, I'm not a lesbian, but I am transgendered. Um, and to have a parent going through that with a child or just someone to talk to, just something. I mean, you have someone in the community that's at least willing to listen. And if I can't help you, there's plenty of other people that can do that. Because you never know when that's going to crop up.
Right. Well, Logan, I so appreciate your candor tonight, your honesty, your open conversation with me. I think a lot of people have appreciated the conversation tonight. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, you made me vulnerable.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
You know what? It's setting a good example. You got to set an example for other people. Somebody's got to go first, Nancy. So if you didn't do the suicide class and have people there or your PTSD class, look how many people you've had in those classes that I've been in. People that were willing to talk about their feelings that had no place to go.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's what it's all about. It's about opening that line of communication, feeling a safe and comfortable place to talk about what is it you need to talk about, your crisis, your trauma, because we all have them. We all have them. So, yeah, you're right about that. And I said it might not, some of you might not have thought this was a timely conversation, but I felt it was a very timely conversation to have this holiday season. So I thank you also very much for joining us this evening. For sure, I love all your comments. We'll go through and read your comments. I didn't see any questions. I see my sisters on there. Thank you, Linda. Actually, Linda, I wanted to end tonight with a poem, and you had posted this on your Facebook page, and it came up on my memory also. And I like this poem, and I thought it'd be a fitting one to end our conversation tonight. I don't have a title for it. I don't usually title most of my poems, but here it goes. Look in the eyes of your life, destiny, your fate, your demise. Fear not what lies ahead. Fear not what you don't comprehend. Live what today will bring. Accept what yesterday did not. Don't anticipate an unknown future, yet understand that tomorrow will be forever. For we do not die. We walk on one singular footsteps, never alone. If you listen closely, you will hear the steps of all those that are among us always.
Good one, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the Lilydale Assembly official Facebook page. Keep an eye on everything that's going on here in Lilydale. They've been posting a lot of events, a lot of stuff coming up this summer. The other radio shows that will be on, I'll be back in 2 weeks for my show, Enlightening Your Way. Please like my wellness page, Wellness with Nancy Lombardo, where I'm protecting and serving your well-being. Thank you so much, Logan, for joining us this evening. Thank you all for being here. I wish you all a happy holiday, however you choose to send it or celebrate. It's all good. Thank you so much. Love you all.